Cue the conversation.
Hi, everybody. My name's Bryson Foster, and welcome to Q the Conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to share some great stories with you all and deeper conversations about what's going on with the disability community. And Paul, we get to do some wonderful storytelling. I don't want to hog all the spotlight. Paul, introduce yourself and say hey to everybody.
Well, Bryson, thanks so much. It is great to be a part of this project with you, my friend. I've been a huge fan for many years, and I'm looking forward to it. Being able to share these incredible stories of ones who are part of the disabled community and some of the great things that are going on. Bryson, we are going to have a blast talking about all these great people, these great companies, and these great organizations. But Bryson, before we dig in and talk more about ones that we're going to talk to, why don't we tell everybody a little bit about ourselves? So, Bryson, tell us about yourself.
Yes, sir. Well, Paul, the feeling is mutual. Been a big fan of yours as well. You're somebody that I look up to a lot. So excited to get to work with you as well. But yeah, my name is Bryson Foster. I'm from Concord, North Carolina. So the beautiful southern United States, the East Coast. Paul, I know you're a West Coast guy, but don't want to spoil your introduction. But I'm 24 years old. I'm currently a graduate communication studies student at UNC Charlotte. I'll graduate in May 2025, so right around the corner. It's a little bittersweet for sure. Love my university, UNC Charlotte, but definitely not ready to get into the real world yet. I guess you could say adulting 101 is not something I'm looking forward to, but hey, we all got to do it. And so I did my undergrad at UNC Charlotte, got my bachelor's in communication studies, and journalism is my minor. Journalism is a big passion of mine. As many will come to learn through this podcast, I'm a huge sports nut, Cincinnati Bengals fan, even though sometimes they make it hard to say that in public. Um, but Cincinnati Reds fan, UNC Tar Heel fan. Of course, my Charlotte 49ers got to represent, bleed a little bit green there. But I also have Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which is a neuromuscular disease and affects the strength and all the muscles in my body. I'm a wheelchair user. Quantum Rehab has been really great for both of us. I could probably speak for both of us there and helps get me around. But yep, so from Concord, I have Duchenne muscular dystrophy and finishing up my grad school years, which is hard to believe. 6 years went by like that, but definitely excited to share a little bit more about myself. And like you said, Paul, hear a little bit more from some of these companies, great people we'll get to talk to throughout this.
Absolutely, and Bryson, I it's an honor to be able to work with you on this project. I'll say it again, but we're gonna get one thing straight. Don't be calling me sir. Call me dude. Call me bro. When you call me sir, man, that make me feel so old. Call me unc. Call me whatever, but don't call me sir, man. When people call me sir, like when I'm at a store, when I'm out and about, sir, I'm like, who you calling sir? Call me dude. Call me bro. But it's all good. But Bryson, that just shows just how amazing person you are, man. You are just one of those salt of the earth persons, and we really appreciate that. And a little bit about myself. I live in Southern California. I am a broadcast journalist, an accessibility consultant, even a content creator. I went to broadcasting school back in 2007. I went to the Academy of Radio and TV Broadcasting here in Los Angeles, where I graduated with honors. So I've been in the media game going on 2 decades, and that is a long, long time. Bryson, you were like 4 years old when I started, man. So I am old. I am a quadriplegic, C6, power wheelchair user, involved in an automobile accident back in 1993. And I'm not going to tell you how old I was when I got into the accident because you'll figure out my real age. And I'm kind of slipping that in on the DL about how old I really am. So I just want to put that out there. But I enjoy a lot of things that Bryson enjoy sports, love fantasy football, avid gamer, and just excited to have me and Bryson a part of this the conversation show that we're doing, and it's just awesome. And Bryson, when you look at the disabled community that you and I are a part of, what are some of the changes that you've seen since you've been a part of this community?
Yeah, really good question, Paul. I just finished up my capstone project actually for my grad school. And so my main research focus is ableism in college learning environments. And so something I've noticed in a lot of the research and from our experience, of course, working with Quantum as brand ambassadors, is I think the disabled community is starting to be more out in the public eye than ever before. People with disabilities are everywhere now. That's a great thing, especially in higher education. And as someone who has lived majority of their life disabled, I really think there's a resiliency that comes from the community, and that's that has never changed. You asked me about what has changed, but that hasn't changed. Is the resiliency of fighting through. Paul, you can probably agree with this. Our world sometimes is not built for people like us, but no matter what, we always find a way to push through. And so something I really seen is that ever before in the public sphere, people with disabilities are really showing up and showing out, which is a wonderful thing. And I hope conversations like this puts a spotlight on people within the disability community. One of my big focuses is on agenda setting theory. And agenda setting theory is a common theory that kind of says, hey, the media tells us what to think about. They don't tell us so much how to think, but tell us what to think about. And so that's what I hope this show does is that we're able to kind of put out into the media sphere what's going on so people can start to realize, wow, disability issues affect me just as much as it does the community. And so that's really the wonderful part about this is that we kind of get to be the change here and show the people that are actively out in the communities doing their thing.
You know what, Bryson? What I've seen too over the years, and I wholeheartedly agree with your assessment. When I got injured back in 1993, there wasn't a lot of things for us, and it was uncharted territory for a lot of us. We weren't accepted a lot. I remember going to my first job interview like a year after my injury, and it was at a clothing store. And so I went there and couldn't fill out my application. And as soon as I got there, I knew I said, I will not be able to work in this environment. And I was like, I need to find something that I can do to be productive. And it was like kind of a slap in the face. So decades later now, Bryson, you have companies out there making us a major part of their core companies and using our voice to shape what products can look like, not only for us, but for everyone else. And whenever I consult with different companies and work with them, I always tell them this when they're kind of resistant to some ideas that we have. I say, now, isn't your no, let me take it back, Bryson. I take it back to the hood. I say, ain't your so I use street English when I get down. Ain't your goal is to make sure that your product is for everyone, one size fit all? They're like, yeah. I said, well, you have to build with us in mind because if you think about building for us, if we can use it, everyone else is going to use it too. And then it's like they have like I'm dating myself here, Bryson. They have a V8 moment. Like, I have a V8. I should have thought about that. But it just shows that where we're at in the stream of time. Even like when it comes to dating and relationships, when my fiance and I were engaged when I had my accident, there was a lot of shade. Like, you don't want to marry him because he can't do this, can't do this, can't do that. And thankfully, we both were hard headed. Like, no, we're gonna stay in our relationship. We're gonna get married, and we're almost 29 years into marriage in September this year. But to see now, it's mainstream now, Bryson, for good looking women to like us and be in relationships with us. I mean, you look at Cole and Charisma, you look at Squirmy and Grubs,
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
like, wow. But when I first got started, Bryson, they wasn't having it, man. But now we start to see this change, and it's great to see where we're at.
And Paul, would you say that maybe that shift for accessibility isn't just about physical accommodations, but also about fighting back against some of that stigma? And now that we've kind of weathered the storm, we are seeing that. Would you say that kind of the focus of accessibility has changed from just making sure places are physically accessible to now a bit more than that.
Oh, absolutely. Because now it's starting to encompass folks with neurological, um, psychological, and it all started off with us when it comes to the physical issues that we have. And this is where I feel, Bryson, that our community has really dropped the ball. And I'll explain what I mean by that. We are so powerful together, but it seems like sometimes we sit in our own little silos and don't want to come together and create this big movement that we can really make change happen.
Hmm.
It seems like we're scared. It seems like we don't want nobody to blow up our spot. And we're like, hey, I'm just going to keep it to myself. I'm going to be kind of selfish and stingy. But if we would all just come together from all different walks of life, disabilities, and even from the aging and adult population too,
Hmm.
because I clump them in our movement as well too, because they have challenges because of aging and different type of things that if we come together and just focus our mission on one common goal, I mean, Bryson, we will just be one powerful army that no one will be able to stop, and we can get people to think and act and not look at it as we're just disgruntled or we just want things handed out for us. No, the fact of the matter is everybody is going to be a part of our community one day, either through the aging process or, God forbid, an accident or even a disease that we have, Bryson.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think something I found through my research, Paul, and through some articles I've read and assignments I've done is disability accommodations benefits everybody regardless of ability. Because, like you said, about 3/4 of the population will gain a disability status at some point in their life, and so I really agree with you. I think you're starting to see kind of that unity start to come, but I do agree with you. I think we continue to push together and realize that accommodations benefit truly everybody. But it's really wonderful to see how so many different conditions and disabilities are all kind of being recognized now, and I think that's truly important to make an inclusive society for everybody. Which we've seen some of that start to happen, but like you said, Paul, I think we got some work still to be done. But hey, that's what this podcast will hopefully help with, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you're watching, if you're listening, we thank you so much for tuning in. And when Bryson and I get back from our break, we're going to dive in a little more into this topic and much, much more. This is Cue the Conversation. I'm Paul Amadeus Lane, and he is,
Bryson Foster, and we'll be
and we'll be
right
right
back.
back.
Yes, sir.
Quantum Rehab isn't just about mobility, it's about possibility. It's time to rediscover mobility and freedom. At Quantum Rehab, we design cutting-edge power wheelchairs that don't just move you, they empower you. Our advanced technology adapts to your lifestyle, offering unparalleled comfort, precision, and customization. From smooth indoor maneuvering to rugged outdoor adventures, Quantum Rehab ensures you stay in control wherever life takes you. Looking for innovation? Our power wheelchairs feature eye-level technology, giving you the ability to rise up and interact at eye level. Perfect for work, social events, or just feeling on top of the world. With Quantum Rehab, the future moves with you. Visit us at quantumrehab.com and check us out on social media. Quantum, #1 for rehab power.
Welcome back to Cue the Conversation. I am Paul Amadeus Lane, and he
I'm
is.
Bryson Foster, B Foss. You can call me that if you want. We're excited to get back. We had a really good conversation going before the break, and Paul, I think we got a couple more things we want to touch on before this episode is said and done.
Absolutely. And Bryson, I wanted to talk about um, when it comes to getting praise, when it comes to getting our flowers. Some people sit on the side of everything is inspiration porn, no matter what it is.
Mm.
Even if you say you did a great job on that assignment, oh, that's inspiration porn. Where's the balance? You think? Because here it is, Bryson. I'm okay when someone tells me I did a great job.
Hmm.
I don't. I mean, who is not okay with that? But then there's the other side of it. Oh, because you're disabled, you did a great job. No, how come I just did a great job because I'm good at what I do.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So Bryson, what is that? Where do you see that balance at?
Yeah, Paul, that's a great question. That kind of goes back to the idea of what scholars have coined as the wonder crip. And so this idea that, oh, he's doing so good for himself because he's disabled. And, I think I've had some courses where we talked about this, and we've actually gone in depth on this discussion. You know, there's a lot that happens with being disabled where, like you said, it's like, oh, you're doing so good because you're a disabled person. Like, you're doing good for yourself, but you're disabled. And I think one thing is that it takes away the personhood, right, of saying, oh, you're not a unique individual, you are your disability. And for me, I've always said, and my parents have instilled it in me, I am not defined by my disability, I define it. And so I think it really comes down to this idea of, again, our society is not built for people with disabilities. And when we shine through and break through, it's this crazy thing to a lot of people. But for us, we're just like, hey, we're just kind of doing our thing. And we're just going out and being normal people. And so when I write academically, like I just finished up my capstone, I would always write students with disabilities because I want to give them that personhood first before we put the disability in. And so I feel like finding that common ground is, I think for us, because we've had our disabilities for so long, we're able to differentiate. But for people that are giving compliments and are going in society and working with people with disabilities, I would challenge you to get to know them. Get to know them beyond their disability. Because, yes, our disabilities are major parts of ourselves. We'd be stupid to say they weren't, right? But we're so much more than that. We're unique individuals who are just trying to do our thing. And so that's what I would kind of challenge people. But yeah, that kind of even balance. If you're going to compliment somebody, always kind of stop yourself and go, hey, why am I complimenting them? Is it actually, hey, you did really good
Yeah,
on this report? Your writing was crisp and clean, or
yeah.
wow, you did so good despite your disability. It's like, whoa, pause a little bit. But Paul,
Yeah.
how do you deal with it? I mean, I know you've been in journalism and broadcast for a long time. So how do you kind of deal with, because you interview a bunch of different people and are doing wonderful things. So how do you kind of ground yourself?
You know what, Bryson? I came from the old school where we didn't get compliments for anything. We got pity. When ones would be
Mm,
like, "Oh, if I was paralyzed, I would kill myself or I wouldn't want to live."
hate that. Hate that.
That's when I started in the journey. Yeah, when ones would say that and ones would like feel sorry for me. But what I noticed back in the days when I was the only one and still the only one on red carpets who were in a wheelchair who during interviews is that I'm going to own the moment. This is me. This is my time to shine. And because I want to break barriers, I want to see more wheelchairs on a red carpet interviewing folks. And I want the people who are running these events to be comfortable with us. So I make sure that when I'm there, I'm not a jerk, I'm not a diva, because some of us, and Bryson, you can probably attest to this, being a part of the media and being disabled, we can be jerks sometimes. Some of us can be jerks. We can be entitled, we can be bratty. So I make sure that I'm extra nice to the folks
Hmm.
to let them know that, hey, we're a partner together. Let's work together. And I am honored that you allowed me to be on here. So I'm always just grateful for a lot of things. And when people compliment me and they say things like, wow, in a wheelchair, you're doing really good, and instead of getting upset and snapping at them, I take that time to educate them. First, I thank them. Thank you so much for your compliment. I really, really do appreciate that. I said, but what I've been trying to do over the years is to get people to look past my disability and see me as a person. And then they would say something, yeah, you know what? Because when I say you, I forget that you're in a wheelchair. So I think people are there with their thinking of it. They just don't know how to articulate it in a way that it comes across.
Hmm.
And I'm okay with that because it's uncharted territory for them. They may not know how to speak to a person with a disability. So when our community kind of gets a little salty and get upset, I'm like, no, don't get upset. Take that time to educate them. Let them know I appreciate the compliment. I'm just working hard for people to see me who I am as a person and not my disability. But hey, this is what I want you to do. Any challenges that you face, I don't mind you looking at my example and say, hey, Paul is not allowing that challenge to stop him. So I'm going to do the same. And I'll let them know I'm okay with that. I'm okay if you use me as a role model to get over your challenges, because that's what we do. We reach one and we teach one. So I think there's a balance there. And I think, Bryson, what happens sometimes when some of us who have some influence in our community, when we make a big deal about something, others feel they have to too. But I'm like, no, I mean, just be yourself, walk your own path, make your own journey. And don't allow things that we do to influence you. I mean, that's the nature of the beast that I see, Bryson.
Yeah, well said. And Paul, I think you articulated it so well is that, and I feel the same way, is it only takes one person, right? So if me or you are out there and we're the ones educating people to make a more inclusive society, hey, I'm ready for that challenge, I'm a very spiritual person. And I feel like God puts us in those situations, right? Like we're put in those situations to be a vessel for Him, but also to say, hey, you know what? This is who I am. And for many, it may be their first time seeing a person with a disability kind of in these roles. And so I think for me, there is a happy medium. Of course, we can say, oh, this again. But then, like you said, we got to step back. And as much as we want others to reframe, like I said, challenge people to dig deeper. And yes, they should, but we maybe should reiterate that a little bit more. So I really like how you put that for sure.
Yeah, and you know what? We got to pick our battles too.
Mm,
Be Faust. We gotta pick our battles. And the reason why I say that is ones don't have to give us opportunities. And I don't think we realize that yet.
yes.
And especially the time in which we're living in, we have to play the game. And if we play the game correctly, we will now begin to control the game.
Hmm.
So we have to buy our time. We have to treat people the way we want to be treated and not be so confrontational.
Hmm.
When we're confrontational, people just won't deal with us.
Turns it off.
But
Yeah.
we want people to deal with us. Yeah, we want to get involved in conversation. Now, not saying that we want people to um, run over us or to try to punk us. No, we will stand up for what we believe in. We will stand up for what we do.
Hmm.
But we have to pick our battles. What is since you're a spiritual person like me, Bryson, what did it say? When a fool and a wise man argue, it's hard to discern who the wise man is, right?
Mm.
So I mean that's what we have to do.
Just dropping bars, Paul. I tell you, you've dropped a couple today. I'm like, all right. Hey, but that V8 line, I don't
Well,
know if I can forgive you for that V8 line. That was a little, come on, man.
yeah, see, I dated myself. I dated myself. You know what I
I
mean?
was like,
But
V8.
you
Oh
know what,
my
Bryson?
God.
Yeah, see, and that's why I'm glad. That's what Q the conversation is all about. We're gonna have these discussions. We're gonna have all these things that's going to really be provocative and have a real in depth conversation. About the issues that really affect us. I mean, Bryson, I'm a little bit older than you, so it's nice to have a perspective of the one generation to the other generation and how we see certain things, and it's really awesome. And Bryson, if you were to pinpoint something in our community that you think that needs the immediate attention of our community, what would that be?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot that kind of comes to mind. But I think for me, one thing is transportation. That is one issue I
Mm,
think with airlines. We've seen some of the, I guess you could call it almost like horror movie clips of people's chairs when they fly and getting folded up and broken. And not just that, I think public transport. Here in Charlotte, thankfully UNC Charlotte students give free access to the light rail here in Charlotte. Great service, but
nice.
the handicap spots or the places for wheelchairs to go cannot be activated without an able-bodied person being there. So I've rode with my parents and with friends, and you have to push a bench up to be able to pull your wheelchair into it. And then even when that happens, your chair is sticking out in the aisle a little bit, and you're like, oh God, I can't move back anymore. I got my book bag on the back of my chair. I'm like, if I do, I don't want to crush my laptop. So there's a lot. I think with airplanes, we need to be able to just drive our chairs on and have spots to get down. I understand the financial aspect of it, but I think that's money well spent, in my opinion. I think when it comes to handicap vans being so expensive, we need those. That's life changing equipment, and I can say that from my personal experience. They're expensive. We need to kind of work to reform that a little bit and change some of the ways that we've done things. Because I mean, even with things like Uber and Lyft, it's hard for people with disabilities to use that. And it goes back to this idea of people with disabilities being forgotten, kind of being left at the table. Everybody's eating. The scraps are kind of passed to people with disabilities, and you go, oh, well, we got to make do with this. And that's not good enough, in my opinion. So for me, transportation, and I think also common sense sometimes is a thing that is dealt with. I think when it comes to parking in, wheelchair spots, like near buildings, if you do not need those, please leave those for people with disabilities. I think stuff like that. I think handicap stalls or bathroom stalls, the ones that are built for wheelchairs, that is not your place to go take a poo. Okay. Like, I need to get in there. Please, please, 'cause I don't want to be fighting that smell. Come on now. But I think it's stuff like
Yeah.
that. I think it's, when you see people comment in wheelchairs, don't stand in the way. I mean, you need. I think sometimes transportation from an actual kind of facet of society standpoint, transportation needs to be better. But also common sense. Like I said, taking a step back, checking yourself, and saying, "Hey, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't park there. Maybe I should go to a smaller stall today. Maybe if somebody's coming, maybe I should try to offer them help, but not force it, but offer them help." And I think that's kind of a thing. And I think that goes back to education, right, Paul? If somebody's doing something, that's our job to kind of step in and educate. It's not something with common sense that I get mad about. It's happened, but it's just something that, hey, do better maybe. But what about you, Paul? What are your thoughts?
That is so true, and I love that hip hop vibe too. Chickadee, check yourself before you
Wreck
wreck
yourself,
yourself.
yes,
That,
sir.
that's what I'm talking about right there. And you hit on so many things, about especially with the transportation. I remember only flown twice, and the last time they broke my wheelchair, I went to Miami.
Mm,
The cool thing about it, the engineers of the airlines, they actually fixed my chair. What they did was somebody like pulled my battery cable out, so like kind of got disconnected. So the engineers actually put it together. I was so grateful of that. When it comes to traveling, they need to have us consult with them, Bryson, on how to pack our chairs. Number
hmm
one. Number two, definitely we should be able to drive our chairs on the plane, and forget about the financial impact. They got enough money. If they can give their CEOs millions of dollars of bonuses, they can scratch a little bit off to make sure that we have permanent wheelchair seating in a plane. Transportation, man, I just got me a Toyota Sienna limited hybrid van. And Bryson, I'm gonna have to live in that van. That's how expensive it
Yeah.
was, and it should not be. It should be some type of subsidy to. We can pay for our van, but the modification should be paid for.
hmm
I'm not trying to put the wheelchair manufacturer vans out of business. No, not at all. I think the government should pay them to get our chairs modified, just like they pay for wheelchairs. And our wheelchairs, 5 years, 6 years, they'll give us a new one. They should do the same thing with vans. Put a 10-year cap on vans.
hmm
Because, Bryson, the wheelchair vans are cheaper than wheelchairs.
Yeah.
That's the interesting thing, you know. So you can, everything is kind of like messed up. But if we can think in terms of that, I think it'll help us out. California here has a great infrastructure when it comes to wheelchair accessible Ubers.
Mm.
I was just in San Francisco on business. I was able to get a wheelchair Uber. Now, here is the caveat. They have a backloader wheelchair van. I'm tall, I'm big. So what we had to do was I had to put my feet on like the middle console and then roll up. So it wasn't that easy. But then they have a front loader Chrysler that I'm able to drive all the way in, and there's no middle seats.
Mhm.
But some of them actually have a middle seat, so it's hard for me to get in. So that needs a little bit tweaking. But the cost, surge, we get hit with surge fees. And I'm like, I don't mind paying, but don't hit me with surge fee. Don't hit me with the, what do we say, Bryson? The disability tax.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
do not want to be hit with the disability tax. But I think there has to be a way we have to help out with transportation so that we can get out and see the world. We don't want to sit around and not do nothing. We want to get out and see.
Yeah, yeah, and I think with price, not even for vans, but if you look at wheelchairs, and if you look at Hoyer lifts, which I use a Hoyer lift, and I actually officiated a wedding for some of my friends last year, which was great.
Nice.
But to go to this hotel, it's not as accessible as my house, and so we kind of decided to buy a Hoyer lift. I have one here, but we decided to buy one that was, that foldable, that could fold into our van, that we could take. And great equipment, but very, very expensive to get one that, we use whenever we go to places, which isn't a lot, but is every now and then. But those should not be that expensive. This is life changing equipment that helps us navigate the daily world. And if we don't have it, that's, it's hard to do that. My medicine that I have to go through all these different approval regimens to even get it. And it took months to finally get it approved and was finally able to. It's my steroid that I need. It shouldn't be that expensive. It shouldn't be that hard. And I think it's the reason why it is so hard is because the government and governmental procedures say, oh, people with disabilities, they're not that visible. They're not doing that. They're just kind of at home doing their own thing, which is not true. I need it to be an active person, and that's what I want. It almost feels like, Paul, a little bit sometimes we get penalized sometimes for trying to be active when it comes to, Social Security and disability and all that stuff. I think there's a lot of reform, but the cost of things should not be what it is for equipment that helps us live and be active members of society.
Yeah, and you talk about jumping through hoops too, Bryson, and I think we can do a whole episode on this, and I think we will. You know, when it comes to denials, don't give up. Keep fighting. Keep fighting. Learn about prior authorizations. Learn about all these things because they want you to quit.
Yeah.
They want you to do that. They want you to give up, or they feel that you don't know what you can do. And Bryson is prime example. I am too. I had to fight for certain medications that I need. And they're sitting up there like, he doesn't need it. I don't need it. Yeah. I mean, this helps us to be active, helps us to be alive, helps us to do a lot of things. And Bryson, that's I'm looking forward to diving into that conversation and talk more. So Bryson, in closing, my friend, anything else we want to share with our audience out there?
Paul, really excited again to be working with you today. Was really great start. I think that we got a lot more great stuff in store for sure. And I think cue the conversation. We're going to queue up some good ones. Yeah, I like that joke. So yeah, we're going to queue up some good ones and have some good times for sure, Paul. And today was really a great start. Excited to talk more about you. You got any closing thoughts?
Yeah, my closing thought is for everyone out there, just remember that you can write the own chapters in your book. So don't let fear of the unknown prevent you from doing great things. Just do it, even if you fail. It's okay. It is okay. You are human. Some of the most successful people have failed. Why should we be any different?
Mm.
But the difference between us is that we wake up every morning with some added pressure. And that pressure is our disability. But we have learned to problem solve, even at a greater degree than others, because that's what we do. That's our life. And Bryson, that's what makes us so unique and so valuable.
Yes, sir. Well said. And I think it's all about rising above. And sometimes when people say, hey, you need to rise above it, it's not really a concrete definition. It's a little fluid. Some days are better than others. I think we can both admit that some days we feel strong, some days we feel weak. But it's all about doing what you can. And as the sports term goes, sometimes you just got to control the controllables. And that's all we can do. And outside of that, we just got to wash our hands of it. But what we can control, that's what we need to do. And Paul, really well said. I'm excited to dig more with you, and I think we can offer some encouragement, but also, like you said, talk about some tough topics, but come through it with this one.
Absolutely. Well, Bryson, it's been great hanging with you, man. Can't wait to do it again.
Yes, sir. Same here. Can't wait for the next one.